going to talk about really the only thing anybody today has been talking about. I figured people might want to hear our reactions to this, so I figured we'd go ahead and do it, and we probably have different viewpoints as we, very often do. Today we're going to talk about the Spider-Man reboot, which was just mentioned yesterday. Just announced that if you haven't already heard, I don't know how anybody probably hasn't heard about this yet, but in case you haven't heard, Sam Raimi is not going to be making Spider-Man 4 after all. That got scrapped because, see, now that's what I'm wondering, like, are you really sad about that?
No.
Okay.
Not the least.
Sam Raimi is not going to be making Spider-Man 4, and is decided to back out because he didn't think he could make the release date, and because he didn't think the movie would be any good if he made the release date, so I'm like, good job, because that's kind of what happened last time. And instead, Sony has decided, well, we think Spider-Man makes a lot of money, because, it does, so we better go ahead and make another one, but it's going to be a reboot, and they want that to happen by 2012. And of course, we know nothing at this point whatsoever. There's no telling. There's apparently maybe a script, but that's all we know. We don't know who's going to direct it. We don't know anything.
I mean, it doesn't even matter. The world's going to blow up in 2012 anyway. So.
Well, in fact, I saw a lot of articles that said that yesterday that were like, oh, good, if it comes out early enough, then we might actually get to see Spider-Man before the world blows up. Vince, I think it's your turn to start.
Yay!
So, here we go, whenever I'm ready. Sorry. Go ahead.
We're going, alrighty. Okay, first of all, I think it's never too soon to reboot because it's something that's to the side. If you want to create 7 different types of James Bond at the same time, I don't care. If it's a good movie, I'll watch it. They don't have to be connected, even if they have the same character. And that's a little naive of me, maybe, but whatever, I'll continue. I mean, look at The Incredible Hulk versus the Hulk. I mean, they did exactly what needed to be done with the origin. They took it and they made little bits of it and put it into a prologue to the film, essentially. Just this little montage, and then we got it out of the way, and then we got into something that was interesting, because we don't care about the origin anymore. Now, for Spider-Man, I think this is actually significant for the Spider-Man character, because Spider-Man is not a very likable guy. He's whiny, he's almost narcissistic. He's so obsessed with his own little world that, like, why should I care about you, Spider-Man? Be somebody that we actually like. Yeah, you do heroic things, but so what? You're kind of a pain in the butt. Oh, I had like 6 or 7 more points.
That's what mine's going to be like, I think.
Yeah. Oh well, we still have 3 extra minutes.
Okay. Or more if we decide just to ignore the time limit, which we seem to be doing a lot lately.
Yeah, don't tell them, they don't know that.
Why do we even... Yes, they do. Yeah, because we'll finish with 3 minutes and then we'll be like, oh, whatever, we'll keep talking. Why do we even have the 3-minute time limit?
So that we know that we should stop at some point.
Okay, I vehemently disagree with most of what you said, actually. And so this will be interesting. I think that Spider-Man 4 shouldn't have happened, obviously, but I also think it's too early to reboot. I think perhaps eventually a reboot could work, but I think it's too early. Now, first of all, it sounds like Sam Raimi was going to go a bad direction anyway, with Vulture and everything, because I hate that character. So, I'm kind of glad that's not going to happen, but it's too early to reboot because... that film, if they had made Spider-Man 4, it was going to be at a disadvantage anyway because Spider-Man 3 was so bad. But people still liked Sam Raimi. People still have respect for him and for the cast, and so if he had made another movie, it had a potential to do decently, even if it wasn't great, just because people might say, oh, well, Spider-Man 3 wasn't very good, but you did well the first 2 times, so we'll give you a pass. I don't know who's going to end up directing this thing, and so maybe it'll depend on that, but... It seems like this thing is going to be at a far greater disadvantage, and I think it's going to crush Spider-Man as a movie property.
Hope not.
Yeah, hope not. Alright, let me put 3 minutes on the timer, and then we can get to the points we didn't get to make, because I had the same problem. Alright, 3 minutes. Here we go.
One of the things that you said in your blog about it was that they were going to take it back to high school.
Yeah.
I submit that that's not a bad thing.
Why's that?
Because one of the interesting things about Spider-Man is that he was a teenager and a superhero, not a sidekick.
Okay,
and
but
that
what
was always
frightens
cool.
me about taking it back to high school, you're right, it's not necessarily a bad idea, but that immediately raises up a red flag that says they're going to do the origin again.
Which I hope they don't, because if they should do what they've done with the Spectacular Spider-Man, which is, if you haven't been watching, it's totally worth it.
The animated series?
Yeah. And the first episode was Spider-Man swinging around. That's how they introduced it. And he's like, woohoo! And he talked about his summer as being Spider-Man. And they didn't actually do any origin until they get about towards the end of the first season, where
That's good.
There was Spider-Man pretty much battling with himself internally because the Venom creature was making him do it.
Oh, that's kind of cool. That's a neat way to do it, yeah.
I recommend that.
I'm not going to say that there aren't good possibilities for a reboot. I just feel like it's too soon. And the biggest reason I didn't even get to mention is that not everybody does their research. And now, I mentioned this in my blog. Not everybody is going to be like me and you. A lot of people, even though we're in the era of the reboots, still don't understand reboots. Are you aware that there are people who like to go see superhero films, but don't understand them to the point that they still don't get that Begins and Dark Knight are not in the original Batman continuity? And there's still people who don't get this concept. They just don't get the concept. If it's on screen, it must all be canonical. People don't get the concept. My problem with doing a reboot this early is that we just had a Spider-Man film. And even if you do it in 2012, it's still too early. You're going to have people who are going to go to the theater, who didn't see previews, who haven't done any research, who are going to expect what they saw before and get something different and be completely confused by it.
You know, if I may add on to your point, and
sure.
try to defeat my own.
Well, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
I think that even the writers in the studio might fall into the pitfall of trying to create something exactly the same. That they go, well, it was just out. People want more. It made a lot of money, so they create the exact same thing with the exact same problem.
As bad as Spider-Man 4 could have been, and we don't know exactly what they were going to do with it, so that's all speculation. But I think that there are even more pitfalls, as you put it, possibilities. They could either try to do exactly what they did before because it made money, it did well, and flop because it's generic or because it's done badly, or they could go the other direction and they could go and by the way, Blow Himself Up Dude mentioned this in his rant about this earlier today on YouTube. The other thing they could do is try to go too dark. You don't want them to Batman Begins this. A dark Spider-Man is not good.
Exactly.
Isn't there a good shot they might go that way?
With all the dark trends that are going on in film and comics, especially comics at this moment, I mean, Dark Avengers, need we say more?
Yeah.
You may have an excellent point.
And the thing is, Spider-Man 3 tried to be the dark Spider-Man film and failed. Now, you throw Venom in the mix, and it's possible to do dark stuff in a Spider-Man film. Where they failed was that... We'll wrap this up very quickly. Where they failed, of course, is that they actually didn't manage it. Instead of going dark, they of course made Peter Parker all emo. But we don't want a reboot that starts in a dark place.
Oh yeah, that's highly disappointing if they do that.
But who knows? I mean, who knows what they're gonna do? So maybe the issue is that. I mean, Vince, you're not totally wrong. I mean, maybe the problem with me is that I'm jumping the gun and saying, oh, this is a terrible idea without having any idea what you're going to do because nobody knows. It could work, but I still say, isn't there a better possibility of making a better film if they don't rush it? Oh, yeah. And I still feel like 2012, that seems like a long way away, and it would have been for Spider-Man 4, but boy, it ain't for a brand new project.
Yeah. You know what? I'm starting to agree, actually. Because thinking about money being the primary motive to make a film, they might rush everything, jam it all together, and give you an unbearable piece of crap.
Now, another thing that some folks have, I'll say this real fast, another thing that some folks have mentioned that is a good, strong possibility is that if this is successful and starts another new franchise, we finally have the chance to do Venom correctly.
Yeah.
And that's good.
Personally, I think a reboot is a heck of a lot better idea than Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, like I mentioned, you seem surprised, like you didn't know about this. He wanted to do the Vulture. Nobody likes the Vulture.
Why would you do the Vulture or Rhino as anything other than minor characters?
I don't know. But he and not for whatever reason. Now remember, this is the guy who hated Venom so much that he ruined him nearly on purpose in Spider-Man 3. He always said he'd never do Venom, but the studio pushed for it, so he threw him in there and did him badly because he doesn't like Venom. So he didn't care that he was treated that way. Is how it always seemed to me. For whatever reason, he seems to really like the Vulture, to the point that this may just be rumor, but what I heard, and it seemed like a decent source, but I don't want to say this is what was really going to happen. Of course, now we'll never know. It could have just been rumor, but what I read was that apparently, and this is just a month ago, apparently the idea was that they were going to finally do Felicia Hardy because they really wanted to do Black Cat. And some people don't like the idea of Black Cat in the films. I actually thought it was a really great idea, but instead of doing her as Black Cat, he was going to have Felicia Hardy become something called the Vultress. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh no, I hope this doesn't happen. And now it's not going to happen, so that's good. Well, hey, what do you think? I'm sure everybody has an opinion on this, and I've been seeing a lot of people already posting all over the place. But if you haven't had a chance to say your 2 cents somewhere else, feel free to do it here. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Were you wanting to see Spider-Man 4? Are you glad that's not happening? What do you think? Leave us a comment. Let us know. Also, if you have any ideas for things we might debate about in the future, maybe Vince will win one of these days. Who knows? I'm just kidding. Leave us a comment in the comments. And I'm sorry, Vince.
Yeah, you better be.
And I'm Captain Logan.
And I am Vince.